Sri Ramana Maharshi's teachings. Ego the ghost, the wedding crasher. In this conversation, Ramana Maharshi explains the nature and behavior of the ego very clearly. He gives lucid examples to make it easy to understand for the devotees. Mr. Jackson continues to talk to Maharishi in the course of his conversation. He says, "When we read about all this, we read it intellectually, but it is all too remote. When we see you in form, we are brought nearer to reality, and it gives us courage to bring our knowledge into our everyday life. If one realized the self and acted up to it in the West, one would be locked up in a lunatic asylum." Hearing this, everybody laughed. Maharshi, you will be locking yourself in. Because the world is mad, it considers you mad. Where is the lunatic asylum if it is not within? You will not be in it, but it will be in you. Hearing this, everybody laughed again. Maharshi continued, "Uncertainties, doubts, and fears are natural to everyone until the self is realized. They are inseparable from the ego. Rather, they are the ego." Visitor, how are they to disappear? Maharshi, they are the ego. If the ego goes, they go with it. The ego is itself unreal. What is the ego? Inquire. The body is insentient and cannot say I. The self is pure consciousness and non-dual. It cannot say I. No one says I in sleep. What is the ego then? It is something intermediate between the inert body and the self. It has no locus standi, a firm argument to support itself. If you seek it, it vanishes like a ghost. You see, a man imagines that there is something by his side in darkness. It may be some dark object. If he looks closely, the ghost is not to be seen, but some dark object which he could identify as a tree or a post, and so on. If he does not look closely, the ghost strikes terror in the person. All that is required is only to look closely, and the ghost vanishes. The ghost was never there. So also with the ego. It is an intangible link between the body and pure consciousness. It is not real. So long as one does not look closely, it continues to give trouble. But when one looks for it, it is found not to exist. Again, in a Hindu wedding function, the feasts continue 5 or 6 days. Once, a stranger was mistaken for the best man by the bride's group, and so they treated him with special regard. Seeing him treated with special regard by the bride's group, the bridegroom's group also considered him to be a man of importance related to the bride's group, and therefore they too showed him special respect. The stranger altogether was having a happy time with all of this attention. He was also all along aware of the real situation. On one occasion, the bridegroom's group wanted to refer to him on some point. So they asked for him. The stranger scented trouble and made himself scarce. So it is with the ego. If looked for, it disappears. If not, it continues to give trouble. How it is to be looked for is learnt from those who have already done so. That is the reason why the Master is approached.